going, peeps? Welcome back to Viva la Coin. I am Joe. I will be your host for today's episode. And man, we have a ton of good news coming through the market, including banks soon to be offering Bitcoin to you to custody through them because you are too poor and stupid to do it for yourself, apparently. On top of that, Ethereum hit new all-time highs. Cardano hit new all-time highs. The NFL is partnering with a crypto sponsor, and more news to follow on that as well. I want to break everything down that has come out just in a grander scheme of the crypto space, because my last couple videos, it's been a combination of some what did I buy during the dip, a couple news stories, this and that. But I want to have a more heart-to-heart as we talk about these news videos and why this is so important, and really remind us as to what is going on behind the scenes, not only with the pricing, but these organizations and how they manipulate it, what they're doing behind those curtains, and why that's important. Now, if you could, I would always appreciate if you leave a like on the video, share this to anyone else that might need to see this information, or may even be one of those paper-handed individuals when those dips happen. I think that this will really put a little bit more conviction and confidence in their investment if they truly do understand what's going on. But ultimately, I am not a financial advisor, nor an oracle, and I am certainly not a fucking wizard. So do your own research and just take this with a grain of salt as my opinion, but I have dug through everything to hopefully bring you the most correct and up-to-date information. But let's go ahead and jump into it. Got a couple big stories to cover today. So first and foremost, just looking at the crypto space, as you can see, Ethereum sitting close to its new all-time high at $3,500. So $3,504 currently. It got all the way up to a peak of right around $3,600 over the course of the last week. And it had, I believe, 9 days in a row where Ethereum had new all-time highs. If we think back to the previous videos where I talked about preparing for altcoin season and the way that these cycles work within the larger bull run cycle, we know that when Ethereum pumps, then once it stalls out, those profits wind up trickling back down into first the big cap altcoins, the top 10, then the top 100 to the mid caps, all the way down to the low and micro caps. And that's exactly what we saw. We saw some of that already flow into Cardano, which right now is at $1.71, which is a new all-time high. We see Litecoin pumping up to $356, which some certain exchanges and metrics have their old all-time high at $375. Although on Coinbase, at least the normal application, I believe it shows $420. But they are doing very well. Chainlink is pushing back up towards $50. It crossed over briefly for a new all-time high. Even Ethereum Classic, just because people don't understand the difference, they have a lot of people putting their money into that as well. VeChain's waking up. So this is very exciting for the crypto space in marking the true big push at the start of altcoin season. We did have some dumps throughout April and even at the end of each of the previous months in order to make sure that Bitcoin didn't run away up to six figures and leave everything else in the dust. But there's a couple distinct reasons as to what's going on there. Now, when we look at how the market is operating currently, Bitcoin is sitting at 57K. So we've tried time and time again to break above and stay above $60,000. And in the meantime, you'll have cryptocurrencies like Doge run up to 70 cents out of the blue, all the way up from like 10 cents about a month or two ago. And then you have BNB going on a run, but Bitcoin just seems to, every time we go to break out, we have these massive dips, as if someone is trying to continue to push that price down. So when we think about why this might be occurring, like let's just look at recently, get up to 64K. We had that massive breakdown. Then we start to, we popped up right there, start going, quick breakdown. It's not people necessarily selling for profit. Like there are people that are liquidated and there are people that are shorting it and there are people that believe that it is a bear market, which is absurd to me. But every single metric behind the scenes that I broke down and showed you as far as exchange outflows go, Bitcoin and Ethereum are leaving exchanges at an all-time high rate. So even though the price of Bitcoin is not going up, you see new announcements every single day about new businesses offering Bitcoin, new banks that might offer to custody it, everyone applying for ETFs just in the United States, let alone every other country on the planet. So the price is being suppressed in order for them to continue to accumulate behind the scenes. They buy over the counter, they buy in microtransactions and buy a lot spread out over the course of a day. People continuously get shaken out or liquidated, they lose their crypto, and they will continue to accumulate as much as they can. Because remember, although they have a lot of money and they are massive billion-dollar institutions, they are still late to this party, and most Bitcoin is already either lost or in cold storage. So they need to do whatever they can to accumulate as much as they can. The same thing goes with Ethereum and where it's sitting as far as how much is available. So Ethereum reaches all-time high after significant exchange outflows. Now, typically, when something leaves an exchange and people are buying it, the price goes up because the supply goes down and the demand is higher. So when Bitcoin's leaving the exchanges at a higher rate, somehow the price seems to be going down. But I digress. ETH touched an all-time high approximately of 3,550 on Thursday. So Ethereum's the world's second most valuable digital currency has been on a rise since the start of 2021. No, they've been going up since May of 2020. But every single person that wants to write an article is just jumping in now. So they were covering and talking about this, but what I found kind of funny was that Ethereum is now more valuable than the financial services giant MasterCard. So Ethereum in and of itself is worth more than MasterCard, and we know that Visa had just announced that they were coming out and partnering with Ethereum to settle cash payments in the stablecoin USDC. So Visa and MasterCard and all these other banks that have historically looked down upon cryptocurrency have these big elaborate roadmaps and all these different things that they want to do in order to make it accessible to everyone, but only through them. And I mentioned previously about Jamie Dimon and JP Morgan offering custody for their wealthy clients within their banking system. But it came out from the New York DIG, which is the New York Digital Investment Group. This news came out on Wednesday. So Bitcoin is coming to hundreds of U.S. banks this year, says crypto custody firm New York DIG, NYDIG. So I want to take a second to help digest what a big deal this is. This isn't Tesla buying $1.5 billion worth of Bitcoin. Yes, that was a big deal. This is hundreds of U.S. banks offering people to be able to buy, hold, and sell Bitcoin through their existing accounts, according to the New York DIG. Now, what that means is that when you saw these massive outflows of cryptocurrency, when the price is dumped seemingly out of nowhere, oh, we have CME futures, oh, things just have to correct because they're correcting. When all that fear is out and all these other bullshit articles come out and everyone's panicking, more and more of it was being bought. Who do you think was doing the buying? Aside from large companies and institutions, banks are going to offer to custody this cryptocurrency for you. If they are offering for you to be able to buy it from them, they would first have to own it to sell it to you, especially if you want to be able to have those private keys. Now, if they do want to custody it themselves, then yes, they could technically hold a paper certificate for it, but I think that it would be very easy to see whether or not they're holding cryptocurrency. A lot of those ledgers are pretty public after a while when you're trading back and forth. So I think that they would have to purchase it. So when you have this many banks on top of all the other institutions, on top of every other government and everything going on, Bitcoin should be over $100,000 right now. With the amount that is being bought behind the scenes, the amount of adoption that is currently occurring, I do not care about, oh, it's slow, oh, there's fees. I get it. But they understand where this is heading. Regardless of what they say, regardless of what the news is telling you, it is being purchased and they are accumulating so that in the future, they can hold it for you and give you bits and pieces of what you could have got yourself. So definitely important things to keep in mind. Now, I wasn't going to read through the article. I mean, it's on CNBC. It's not like some back-end website. This was massive news. Now, did Bitcoin shoot up in price as it typically does, or any crypto does when there's good news that comes out? No. It went up like 1 or 2%, and then it dumped. Right around the same time, Janet Yellen came out and said that they were considering raising interest rates. And then immediately, right after, came out and said that they weren't, because the traditional stock market didn't like that either. And that's what happens when you get stuck in an unsustainable rock and a hard place where no matter what you do, everything is going to eventually implode, and your only solution of printing more money isn't going to work because everyone now has an exit ramp from said money. It's going to be very interesting to see how long that teeter-totter will balance itself out. Like, let's put more shit on this side and that side and try and keep everything from collapsing. Now, in the meantime, you may say, well, Joe, they have at least other countries that are just banning it altogether. I know India and Turkey and all these countries have come out. Nope. So already India has come out. National Payments Corporation of India says it will not ban cryptocurrencies through UPI. So India's payment authority, the National Payments Corporation of India, has reportedly said it will not ban cryptocurrency transactions. Banks are to make their own decisions whether to allow crypto transactions. That is what we like to call a free market, where if your bank says, nope, you can't use fucking crypto, you can say, well, eat shit. I'm going to just custody it myself. I'm going to a different bank if I have any risk tolerance issues. But ultimately, Turkey hasn't banned it either. They just came out and they were talking about it. A couple of their exchanges panicked. The one guy, the CEO of the one, fled the country, and that fucked everything up. But none of these countries have banned it because they can't. You cannot stop it. It is immutable and permissionless. As long as someone has connection to the internet, they can use cryptocurrency. I do not know how many times people are going to have to say, oh, we're going to ban it, to then realize that they can't, to then scare people out and then try and purchase it on the back end. You can regulate it, but the regulations better be fair, or at least somewhat structured, or else you can get up in your sovereign self and go to a different country that isn't trying to fuck you because they didn't put any infrastructure in place to support the future of essentially everything. So they're not going to ban it, and Turkey's already talking about just changing their regulations. But it's funny how all this comes out after the fact. Right after people panicked as it was dumping from 64K down to 47. Right? This story didn't come out then. It only comes out once everything's going back up. And now, oh, there's nothing but good news. And every bank in the U.S. is now excited to offer it and custody it to people. It's ridiculous. And then on top of that, when people talk about it being an environmental hazard, so you're going to see people make the argument that Bitcoin uses more electricity than the entire state of Texas or the whole country of Argentina and all this bullshit, which, okay, that is a lot of energy. But let's look at this story. So it came out actually yesterday. The Norway Minister of Climate holds Bitcoin, says it's well suited for store of value. So someone who's obviously concerned about the climate, and Norway is a very forward-thinking country, happy population, a lot of good infrastructure, at least from what I've seen. In brief, Norway Minister of Climate and Environment says Bitcoin is well suited for store value. The shout out by the minister shout out by the minister of one of the most renewable energy focused governments in the world, debunks Bitcoin FUD, or fear, uncertainty, and doubt about climate impact. So here's what he said. What might make Bitcoin so exciting is that it has some of the same properties. You can't suddenly discover a ton of Bitcoin somewhere, giving one country huge reserves. It's spread out evenly, it grows slowly but steadily, and even has a finite supply. So therefore, it's theoretically well suited as a store of value, something of value. Now, with that, the FUD around Bitcoin being an environmental hazard has cropped up at the peak of its popularity. You'll see every time Bitcoin goes on a run in each one of these bull runs after a halvening, right around that time when everyone tries to fuck it over, like, oh, it's the bear market, throw a wrench in it, they'll start putting out all these stories about how it's environmentally unfriendly and it's used to traffic things on the black market and all this same bullshit that just keeps being regurgitated time and time again by people that obviously do not know that we have the information to show that this is inherently false. But in any case, even though this has been debunked numerous times, the Bitcoin deniers seem to keep fueling the headlines, such as Bitcoin network eats up as much electricity as the state of Texas. However, they conveniently forget to mention that the majority of the energy used comes from renewable sources. So countries like Norway, even the Ukraine, when they were talking about setting up their mining, they're going to use a nuclear power plant. So when you're going in and just pinning to headlines and throwing this shit out on the news, or just throwing out a tweet and saying, oh, it's bad for the environment, you're part of the fucking problem. So Norway is considered to be one of the most renewable energy focused countries around the globe. And the fact that it's the Minister of Climate who is responsible for framing policies related to climate is advocating the use of Bitcoin as a store of value speaks volumes about the so-called hazardous impact of Bitcoin on the environment. So here's a little chart comparing energy expenditure across monetary and banking systems. So if you see this tiny little blip over there, that is Bitcoin mining and yearly cost in billions in US dollars in energy and expenditure. Gold mining, not too much higher, but then again, it's not like there's just mountains of gold everywhere. It's a little bit more finite, so less energy. And these giant fucking things over here, it's just our corrupt banking system that's there. I don't know if all that energy is just to keep the printers running while they just print currency all over the world and just keep shooting that shit out everywhere. I don't know. But they use far more energy in the traditional banking system than Bitcoin does by leaps and bounds. And ultimately, they're doing far more damage than Bitcoin in general. So I just wanted to put that out there as well, because if I'm going to give you the good news and hey, it's going to go out there, I want to kind of counteract the bad news or the FUD that you're going to see. Now, if I thought there was some unsustainable problem, like, I think this is going to speed up global warming, this could actually bring about our demise in our lifetime, I would say it, because I always try and throw my hat in the corner of logic and reason. However, none of these fucks cared at all about the climate whatsoever until it had to do with their competitor that's going to absorb the asset value of most things. So no, fuck that. It's a flawed argument, and that needs to be put to rest. And then finally, just to throw it out there for all you sports fans, if you want to tether this back to something in real life, the New York Giants ink a sponsorship with Grayscale and the NFL First. The tie-up also involves educational seminars on cryptocurrencies for Giants personnel. So Grayscale, if you remember, is the largest Bitcoin trust in the world. I believe right now they had, last time I checked, about $25 billion worth of Bitcoin, or some number around 600,000 Bitcoin that they currently hold. And they're talking about either converting to an ETF. I know Galaxy Digital, which is Mike Novogratz's company, bought 750 million shares or something the other day. Who knows what the fuck they're doing? But Grayscale is now a sponsor for the New York Giants. And the funniest part about this is Trevor Lawrence, who just was signed with the Jacksonville Jaguars, took all $22.6 million of a signing bonus, and he invested in cryptocurrency with his sponsorship from Blockfolio. So when you have Grayscale now coming in to educate all of these top tier athletes about cryptocurrencies, do you think that they are not going to want to be paid in cryptocurrency or Bitcoin in general if the guy next to them is making 10 times more than what they're making over the course of next couple of years, simply because they have a appreciating value asset as opposed to the US dollar, which has depreciated in its purchasing power historically? They're going to want that. And if they're partnering with the Giants, every other NFL team, every other player, every other athlete around the world, soccer teams over in Europe are partnering with Chili's and all these other cryptos. You have, I think it was F1 and Mercedes partnering with Crypto.com in their partnership. This is not a small thing. I don't care if it is sports. I don't care if it is gaming. I don't care if it is streaming. I don't care if it is finance. I don't care if it is supply chain. I don't care if it is identification. It does not matter. Blockchain affects everything. And all the problems that it helps to solve are going to continue to be, catalysts for its adoption. So for this story, the New York Giants team has locked down the National Football League's first corporate cryptocurrency sponsorship. Grayscale is now official digital currency asset management partner of the New York Giants. Holy fucking shit. That is insane. If you understand where this is all heading, that is insane. Under the terms of the deal, Grayscale will provide educational seminars on cryptocurrencies for Giants personnel each year. And not just the players, you think the staff, even the stadium workers, the owners, the management, everyone isn't going to be purchasing or partaking in cryptocurrency, or even their fans when Grayscale has some commercial that runs during their game or something like this. This is just the start. We are on this bell curve. We just crossed the innovators like start line, and we are now at the forefront of early adoption. And that early adoption is going to cover like the next 30% of the population over the next 5 years. Then you're going to have everyone else around the world, and then all the people lagging behind. It is still super early, but if you understand the broader picture of where this is all heading, this is absolutely mind-blowing and super exciting. So deep-pocketed crypto organizations have been piling into professional sports partnerships in 2021, most notably FTX, which is a different exchange. I don't use them personally, but they've done phenomenally this year, which landed the naming rights to the Miami Heat's basketball arena for $135 million. Crypto.com signed a sponsorship with hockey's Montreal Canadiens in March. Grayscale and CoinDesk are now both owned by Digital Currency Group. And I believe that might have to do with Galaxy Digital. But all in all, the reason why I'm talking about this again, and you're like, oh, well, I'm bullish on Bitcoin. What about the other stuff? It's not just Bitcoin. It's not just Ethereum. It's not just a quick pump and dump shitcoin. It's not about Doge. This is a larger movement. When I say that it is the largest shift of financial wealth and power on this planet in the history of mankind. When I said that months ago, when I was telling people that last year, when I was talking about it in 2017, really to no one because no one really gave a shit, I mean it. This is the largest shift of wealth and power in the history of the world. This is going to rebalance the way that banks work. This is going to rebalance what countries have the most resources. This is going to rebalance people that have lived generations under a certain glass ceiling that no matter what they would do, they would never have the ability to afford certain opportunity. Now they will. They can bank, they can save, they can do things. This is going to shake a lot of old money that hasn't had to give a shit about how well of a job they do or what their policies are because they're good no matter which way they cut it. And oftentimes it is more or less to bend it to their advantage. This is going to change everything over the course of the next 5 to 10 years and then the future that follows. So I want to continue to break down why this is so important. And no, I do not know the official timeline, and I can't say that Bitcoin is the only main one and then it's Ethereum and that's how it's going to stay forever. I don't know. But what I do know is that blockchain is going to be stemming into everything that we do. And right now, all that value, that $2.4 trillion that is now into cryptocurrency and will continue to go into cryptocurrency, that is pennies on the dollar compared to what it is going to cost anyone to participate in any of these systems, currencies, or scenarios within even a year or two. So take that information and do with it what you will. But as always, share the video to anyone that you think that this might benefit, even from a broader conceptual standpoint of how big this is. They can always go back and watch some of the other videos explaining why it's important. And drop a like on the video, leave a comment. I'm always happy to respond to you guys. And as always, I'm honored that you come and you watch this channel and you're a part of this journey with me. And I will see you guys next time.